We will get there eventually. Oh, you see all the white cars there? They're popping up. They're popping up. There we go. The 97 with that roof number. Our favorite, the 97 of Scott Wheeler Jr. running 8th. We see him falling back a little bit. And as the liveries load in here, if we could just ride on board with Ryan Potter, our leader, we're going to let the race breathe for itself a little bit and take care of some technical issues. If you saw an intro earlier, no, you did not. We are back at the Highline Racing League, highpoint.com Premier Series, live from the virtual USA International Speedway here in Lakeland, Florida. 19 ARCA cars taken to the track tonight, live on STN. It's a little bit of a last-minute show put together tonight. Director Jacob Hitz in the driver's seat. We got a very special guest making her iRacing commentary debut. Please welcome Sarah Tessum.
Hello, happy to be here and watching some racing on USA Speedway here.
It's a very small track. It's not one we usually see these ARCA cars on in iRacing, but the field of 19 drivers taken to it pretty well. We've had a couple of casualties. The 38 of Dalton Beer in that familiar Smuckers number 38, already a lap down. Dylan Wedgwood ran into some early trouble. He's coming down pit road once more at the moment, but looks like we're pretty single file for the most part. But Ryan Potter and Alan Kunman, your two leaders, they may be single file, but they're only separated by about half a car length.
That's right, Kunman making up ground. He was nearly a second back just a little while ago, and is definitely catching up to Potter, who seemed to be pushing off the line to gain some speed, or some steam. But it looks like it might be backfiring on him a little bit. Maybe if his tires wear out, Kunman will be able to get him pretty soon here. Looks like he's looking to make a move.
If we remember last week at Daytona, Alan Kunman kind of shoved his way through the field, if I remember correctly, but he's not showing that much aggression here in this feature. Oh, there's a dead car down at the bottom. I couldn't tell you who that is. Maybe Dylan Petit, maybe Kendall Kerr, Andrew Siegel. There he is, the 5 car, all the way down on the bottom, letting basically the entire field by. He's already a lap down. Now he's down there. That's actually for position with Dalton Beers, so it may only be for 17th, but it is for position, and that's going to make the 29 of Brad Kress, last week's runner-up, very, very unhappy.
Yeah, it looks like Siegel there tapped the outside wall going into one, turned himself around a bit, hit the inside wall of one, and yeah, is now kind of trying to nurse his car around as he gets back up to speed.
Lots of remarkably close battles here for a small field, for a feature race.
Oh, there he goes again.
Oh, not Nolan Siegel, that's a different Siegel. Andrew Siegel loops it in front of the pack. Luckily, amazingly, nobody hit him. But yeah, he's not going to be a very popular character after that one. Oh, and don't back it onto the racing surface, Andrew.
Unfortunately for him, in this shorter format race, it looks like his race may be over. It looks like he may be nursing quite a bit of car damage, as he just had a jerk to the outside wall as well. So he may be done.
Yeah, Andrew Siegel, he's bringing it down pit road now, an unfortunate way for his heat race to end, but the night's not over. We still got a feature race coming up. 10 laps to go here in the heat. Kundman still hunting down Ryan Potter, unable to make the move. Gap back to about a tenth and a half as they cross the line. We see, almost exactly the same gap as it was before. Now up to 2.5 tenths. He's close, but doesn't look like there's any cigar yet.
And we're starting to near the end of this race here, only about 9 laps left or so. So Kundman's really got to work to stay right on Potter's bumper and try to make that move. It looks like he is having a little bit of trouble maintaining, so we'll see if he can't put the move on. Maybe, I don't know, if I were in his position, I'd be looking for maybe lap 25, 26 to make it stick. But it looks like he's doing it right now on the outside.
He's trying the outside, but is it going to work? The answer is no, but he brings it back down, trying to pull the switch back on Ryan Potter. He clips the outside wall just a little bit. Shouldn't affect him too much. Can tell Potter's really feeling the heat here. Kundman's all over the back of him. I think he might have overcooked turn 1 and 2 on the bottom a little bit. He's getting in there so deep, putting a wheel under the yellow line. He knows Kundman's there, but can Kundman get by?
Looks like Kundman's getting a little bit impatient there, Joey. I would expect him to maybe make a slip up here in a moment or two with how hard he's pushing. Oh, it looks like he gets into the left rear quarter panel of Potter.
Yeah, Ryan Potter, like I said, he overcooked the corner again. He's feeling the heat here in Heat 1, and Alan Kundman all over the back of him. But again, not able to make the move. I'm thinking he might be a little bit more aggressive if this was for the feature, if this was for the actual win. But it's only 5 laps to go. It's only the difference between starting first and second in the next segment of this race. So Kundman maybe not putting 100% of his efforts into the back of Ryan Potter. 4 laps to go as they cross the line. Gap between the two leaders back to what it was exactly a couple laps ago, over 2.5 tenths. So maybe Kundman used up his stuff, and maybe Ryan Potter's back in the groove.
I might expect a little bit of bumping and running on the last lap or two. Kundman was showing he's willing to get up close. I don't think he's going to turn Potter on purpose or anything like that, but he did have that little contact on the quarter panel. I'd expect to see something similar again. Either way, it does look like it's between these two, as third place Scott Zellner has fallen back to about 2.5 seconds back at this point.
They might have a little bit of lap traffic for company. That's Dylan Poteet in the 01 right up the road with only 2 laps to go. I'm not sure if they'll get to the back of him, but he's going to be worrying Ryan Potter a little bit. And again, he goes for an incredible diamond in turns 1 and 2. Alan Kundman running out of opportunities. We're going to get the white flag here. 1 to go in Heat 1, the only heat of tonight. Taking the white flag as they cross the line here. Kundman all over the back of Potter, but Potter doesn't overcook it as much as he did a few laps ago, and I think that was Kundman's last chance, frankly. He falls back a full car length to the back of Ryan Potter through turns 3 and 4. Dylan Poteet's not going to play a factor. And coming to the checkered flag in Heat 1, Ryan Potter wins Heat 1 sideways across the line.
Indeed, it looks like Kundman used up a little too much of his stuff on turn 1 and 2, made a little bit too much of a lunge, had to lay off, didn't quite get to make that move in 3 and 4 because of it.
Well, now we move to the questionable part of the evening. We don't know what's going to happen next. Are we going to skip the consolation race, or are we going to go straight to the feature? The answer is yes. No consolation race. Everybody makes the field. Congratulations, everybody. So well earned. Can't believe they all raced their way in here so hard. And yeah, Ryan Potter on pole. I don't know if we have a grid graphic here. If we do, let's load it up. But Ryan Potter will be your leader on the grid. It's coming, I hear in my ear. And as director Jacob Hitz figures out where the button is, I will tell you who's the top 10. Ryan Potter, Alan Kunman, your front row after their titanic battle. There it is. Incredible. Scott Zellner, Brad Kress in the second row. Patrick Green, James McKee are your third row. Then Scott Wheeler Jr., Tyler Snyder, Caleb Morrissey, the fan favorite, and Trevor Hook are the top 10. Now, as I look at the championship standings here, I don't believe any of our previous winners are starting in the top 10 tonight. So that'll be an interesting story. But for the other 9 drivers, Sarah, talk us through them.
Starting 11th, we've got Robert Pullins alongside Justin Malarkey. The row behind them, Adam Bossy, Cody Robinson. Sorry if I'm butchering any of your names, fellas. We have Kendall Kerr, Dylan Petit, then Dalton Beerer, Andrew Siegel, and taking up last position in a row by his own in 19th is Dylan Wedgwood.
I think you got all the names right more than Jake and I have these last couple weeks, so A+ for that. I'm sure Dylan Potteet's going to be very happy. Somebody said his name right for once, and Justin Malarkey, no Malarkey there. Your 4 winners so far this season: Scott Wheeler Jr., not here. Kendall Kerr is here starting 15th. James McKee is here. Oh, he's starting 6th. I completely forgot about him. He's starting 6th. And Austin Bloom is also not here. So very real possibility that we could get a new winner tonight. But Scott Wheeler Jr., James McKee in the top 10 starting positions, 6th and 7th. They got a decent shot at it. Anything can happen from 6th and 7th, but
they do. Potter and Kunman did pull away a little bit last race, but the feature is going to be a little bit different of a drive, going 100 laps instead of 30. Definitely some tire management going on. It's anyone's game, really.
Yeah, if Kunman was starting to fall off a little bit at the end of the run in a 30-lap feature, I worry for him in a 100-lap feature, but we'll see as the iRacing sedan pace car pulls down pit road. We're going to take the green flag here for the feature race. Highline Racing League, iPoint.com, Premier Series from USA International Speedway. The feature race is live.
It looks like Kunman got a monstrous start to match Potter off the start there. He's going alongside him into 3 already. He might even make the pass and make it stick.
Ryan Potter disappearing down the back straight. That's not going to help him here because Alan Kunman does officially take the lead as they cross the line, but he is still stuck on the high line. Ryan Potter still holding the bottom. They're side by side coming through turn 2, but Kunman in the early runs, it seems like the high line's working out here for Kunman, but will it keep working out once we get more than 2 laps into this race? As Ryan Potter leads lap 2, I think the answer might be no.
Yeah, I gotta imagine he's pushing pretty hard to try to stay up in the front here. That might bite him later on in this race. He's got 100 laps to think about.
Entering 3 and 4 for the 3rd time. Kunman overcooks it a little bit. Potter overcooks it a little bit. And who's that coming up behind? It's Mr. Scott Zellner in the 4. We haven't said his name in an awfully long time. Kunman gets loose on the high line, but somehow he's still holding on to that thing.
And Patrick Green even making a lunge at Zellner just there in turn 1. We're getting a whole gaggle of cars up at the front here.
Looking like a little bit of a Kunman train as he has taken the lead. But does he have the tires under him? He might have overcooked him a little bit, heating him up over the course of these last couple opening laps. See if he can streak away here. The 2nd place starter in 1st, the 1st place starter in 2nd, and just about everybody else still where they started.
Oh, we've got the number 5 in the wall again. Oh, big hit on the wall. They are dropping all the way back to the field. Back to the back of the field.
Andrew Siegel back to the back once more. Well, actually not all the way to the back, as Cody Robinson appears to have gotten into even bigger trouble. So the 5 and the 7, not of Aero McLaren SP, all the way at the back. They're going to be probably hanging out back there for the rest of the night. But, you know, anything can happen. Yellows are turned on here tonight, so they got a shot.
Yeah, not the way you want to start a race, but they've definitely got a shot to maybe repair some of that damage later on in the race. It doesn't look too bad on their cars. And it looks like they're staying with the pack decently enough, so they may still have a shot at top 10 or something.
Kunman, Potter, Zellner, Green, McKee. Not much movement here. Everybody just kind of stratified out single file. Looking back through the field, is anybody even daring to go for an overtake? Doesn't look like it. We're only on lap 8 of 100 though, Sarah, so I assume everybody's just trying to save their stuff a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like near the end of our first heat race there, some people's group was starting to get a little bit sketchy, so I think everyone's being a little bit more mindful of saving their tires, saving their efforts, looking for moves later in the race instead of spending all their energy on early race passes. Of course, it's always nice to get out front, lead the race, but if you're pushing yourself now, you're not going to have that energy later on. And as we look back through the field, it does look like there's a hearty gap opening up between Scott Wheeler Jr. in the 97 and Caleb Morrissey in the 6. Scott Wheeler Jr. in 8th place currently, so it looks like the front runners are pulling away from some of the mid-pack at the moment.
You know, top 8 sort of forming their own pack. It's not Daytona like it was last week, but we're still seeing some stratification, multiple packs forming. Might come into consideration if we maybe get some pit strategy here. 100 laps. I didn't do any fuel calculation before this, so I don't know if they can make the whole thing. I'd be surprised if they could. 100 laps is an awfully long time, but I truly don't know if these drivers are going to have to pit.
Yeah, I would think that's a fuel and tire stop for everyone, but of course you want to minimize the amount of time you're in the pits, especially if it stays green here, because you will go several laps down if you have to make a green flag stop. So I'd imagine everyone's looking to maybe make a one stop if the fuel can't get them all the way to the end. But even if we're looking at a one stop, you're still having to manage those tires for at least 50 laps. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a difficult prospect for some of the drivers here.
Lap 13 of 100. If you're at home, you're not alone in thinking it's a little bit of a parade right now, and that's because it is. But still got a lot of the race to go. Anything can happen. It looks like we got a battle up for 4th position. The 9 of James McKee disposes of Patrick Green, and now he's got Brad Kress coming up as well. So Patrick Green might be the first of our fallers, of our failers. He might be using his tires up a little bit too much. A 33 of Tyler Snyder down the inside of Brad Kress as well. So, as I mentioned, Patrick Green was struggling. Now Tyler Snyder trying to take advantage of Brad Kress's struggle. And Scott Wheeler Jr., one of our winners this season in the 97, puts the bumper a little bit to the 33 of Tyler Snyder, but no harm, no foul. They're still both pointing in a straight line. Nothing bad happened. Good stuff.
No, he's looking quite hungry back there, though. I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of just a shark in the water waiting for some opportunity to grab the next 2 or 3 positions in front of him as these drivers start to drop off from the lead pack.
33 taking an unorthodox line through 1 and 2 there, a little bit too high. Maybe getting a small bit scared by the hungry 97 in his mirrors side by side here behind the 6. That's Trevor Hook and Robert Pullins, the number 10 down to the bottom of the 84. They're going to get close on exit, but they're not going to make any contact. Trevor Hook hangs on. It was a valiant effort from Robert Pullins, but he's going to have to hang back and wait another day here.
It looks like Caleb Morrissey's about to make this a little bit difficult for those two. Caleb dropping back a little bit, losing that gap to Scott Wheeler Jr. is now finding himself in a 3-way battle for 9th place.
And if you forgot about our 2 leaders, they're still out there. They're still up there. Kunman still leads Potter. It's a fairly small gap. It's only 3.5 tenths of a second, but they're still fighting it out up there. I'm sure we'll continue to check in on them over the course of the evening. Still 80% of the race to go. And we didn't see an early caution, which surprises me. With this many cars at this small of a track, don't tell anybody I said this, but it's not really suited to these cars. But nobody hit each other. Nobody brought out a caution. It's been remarkably clean so far as Ryan Potter tries his best to prove me wrong. Maybe Ryan Potter's pushing a little bit too hard here. 2nd place, he has that under lock, but now he's under attack from Scott Zellner here. if he's getting a little bit hot under the collar, hot under the tires, he could be our caution. We don't want a single car wreck bringing out the caution, but Ryan Potter's trying his hardest, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like he's having a little bit of difficulty controlling that car, and we're only 22 laps into this race. We're not even close to the point where he'd need to go in and take tires, so I think he's got to manage the car a little bit here, even if it means letting Kunman run away. I'd imagine, Joey, like you said, it's a small track, you're in ARCA cars, there's probably going to be a caution at some point, so I don't think it's too bad for the guys like Potter, Zellner, and McKee to kind of just hang around in the top 5 and not necessarily shoot for the lead right now, as it's very likely they'll be right back on Kunman's bumper later in this race.
Scott Wheeler trying to send it down the inside of Tyler Snyder as the battle for 7th rages on. Can't quite get a bumper underneath there. He's trying his hardest. But into turns 3 and 4, he's showing his nose, but I don't think it's really working. I don't think Tyler Snyder's getting flapped here.
Oh, and we have Caleb Morrissey going around, and that will bring out the caution.
The fan favorite Caleb Morrissey.
That was bound to happen.
Brings out the caution 25% of the race. We made it a quarter of the race completely green, and unfortunately, Caleb Morrissey is the the maker of the caution. Looks like he got a little bit of help from Trevor Hook. Unfortunately, we can't see the replay of that, but yeah, the 84 just kind of dived it down in there. Said, Caleb Morrissey, you are not going to be pointing straight anymore. You're going to be the caution. Oh, by the magic of TV, we have a replay. Look at this. Bonk.
Yeah, it looks like Trevor Hook just got in low there and bonked his quarter panel, maybe trying for a bump and run, put a little bit too much bump in it.
I'm gonna say it. He hooked him.
I hate you.
Anyway.
I should have asked you to knock on wood after you made your comment about cautions on smaller tracks and ARCA cars, because not 5 laps later we had one.
Well, yeah, it looks like everybody but the 84 of Trevor Hook has pitted. I don't know why Trevor Hook stayed out. That's an odd decision, but he's out there. He's doing something up there. He brought out the caution, and now he's up front. Nelson PK, Trevor Hook Jr., who knows? But everybody comes down pit road. The race off pit road, pretty straightforward. Ryan Potter comes out ahead of Alan Kunman. No, he doesn't. He comes out behind Alan Kunman. Friggin' ATVO doing me wrong as usual. Scott Zellner still 3rd. James McKee, yeah, the rest of the gang, you get it. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward pit cycle.
Yeah, Hook was only back in about 10th place before that incident, so I wonder what compelled him here to stay out. These tires are getting pretty old. He is going to be probably significantly slower than our other front runners after the restart, so I wonder if he's hoping for a caution in the next 15 or 20 laps or so. He can probably hold the top 5 for now, but I'd imagine he's going to start dropping back rather quickly in another 15 to 20 laps as those tires get to be close to 40, 50 laps old.
What would Dale do?
I think in his situation, I could understand grabbing that track position if I'm sitting back in 16th, 17th, 18th, and I think I've got the pace for this thing. But yeah, it's a little bit puzzling sitting back in 10th and taking that position. But we'll see if it pays off for him.
It's like a 5-minute ride.
Everybody forming up 2 by 2 here. The pool balls getting in formation. Trevor Hook leads the field, the only driver not to bring it down pit road. It's an interesting call. We'll see if it pays off for him here. Andrew Siegel, Cody Robinson looking for redemption from the back. Caleb Morrissey back with us despite losing 8 spots from getting dumped there. Trevor Hook, not a popular character for bringing out the caution, but he's going to lead us to green here. As we come out of the final corner, it's a very, very, very long wait for Trevor Hook to get going, and he finally does. And it was all for nothing, it looks like, as he sends it super deep into the corner, bumps Alan Kunman. Ryan Potter tries to pass him on the apron. Oh my goodness, Trevor Hook is a stopper in this wine bottle, and he's stopping himself from taking the lead. Ryan Potter's getting swallowed further back. Tyler Snyder's bumping him. he's going to not be a fan of Trevor Hook after this one. He's lost about 5 spots because of that.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Potter got dinged in that, and Hook already dropping way back on pace here, just not able to keep up with those old tires. Getting past, now in P6 already, not even 2 laps after the restart.
Next up is Tyler Snyder trying to get by Hook around the outside. Very, very easy move for him. The 10 of Robert Pollins is going to swallow him up. Kendall Kerr in the 21 making up a couple spots. And the 29 of Brad Kress, unfortunately stuck on the bottom here. Can't get by Hook. He's going to have to start worrying about Scott Wheeler Jr. if he gets to the high line. And Brad Kress is still plugged down there on the bottom. Yep, there you see it, Scott Wheeler Jr. Nice and easy to the outside. The roof numbers pointing in the right direction, and he easily gets by Brad Kress. And now Trevor Hook goes up to the high line. I think he's trying to get out of the way now.
Hook already back to 10th, the same position. Same position he was in.
Oh dear. Brad Kress, he finally lost it. I think he clipped the apron. I'm not sure if he made any contact. No, he just sent it in too deep. Yeah, he lost it under braking, so unfortunate for Brad Kress. Probably getting a little bit frustrated, getting stuck behind Trevor Hook, but no caution for that. Brad Kress just stuck at the back now. Does not look like he'll be repeating his heroic second place this week, but there's still a lot of laps left. Anything can happen, and I think Scott Zellner agrees with me that anything can happen because he didn't expect to be second right now, and by virtue of whatever the heck that restart was, he's made up a single spot, and now he's in the fight for the win if he can catch Kunman.
Yeah, absolutely. He was kind of just hanging back in P3 for the first part of this race, just biding his time a little bit as Kunman and Potter ran away. But yeah, suddenly finding himself right on the heels of the leader, and it looks like he's pushing hard right now to try to bring that gap down.
Patrick Green, James McKee, and Ryan Potter right behind. It's a 3-way battle for third as Potter, our pole sitter, tries to make his way back up to the front. He's definitely getting a little bit frustrated back there, but maybe patience is a virtue here. Sarah, you've experienced misfortune in races before where you've been probably fast enough to win the race, but you got sent to the back. How do you keep yourself from getting too frustrated and destroying yourself by getting too mad?
You just got to put yourself, it's really hard to do when you're in the car driving, but you just really got to put yourself in the mindset of you can't take away the incident, regardless of whose fault it was, whether it was some other guy's fault, whether it was your fault. You can't change it. You just got to get your head back in the game and keep pushing. If you had the pace in the first half of the race, you'll have it in the last half of the race. So as hard as it is to bounce back from something like that, definitely possible if you have the mental strength to steel your will and get your pace back.
James McKee down to the bottom in turn 3. Very easy move. Patrick Green didn't really put up a fight there. Now he's got to try and put up a fight against Ryan Potter for 4th place. Potter's march back up through the field. Again, easily past Patrick Green. Ryan Potter up to 4th.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be on the charge here, trying to regain the lead, or at least get back into the top 2 after that unfortunate restart. Not really his fault there. I mean, he got caught out a little bit on the bottom there. But yeah, just the unfortunate truth of going 3 wide off the restart on a short track like this. Someone's going to get hung out to dry like that. But it's looking like he's got strong pace and a strong car, so I'd expect to see him back up on Zellner's bumper before too long here. We are only on lap 42, so he does have almost 60 full laps to make up that gap.
Yeah, lots of time left in the race, lots of tires to be worn, lots of fuel to be burned. Ryan Potter still trying to march his way through the field. He's now attacking James McKee in the 9.
Oh, and it looks like he's tapping the wall there, right on the front straight.
Ryan Potter out of control, out of the internet and out of control. Now Patrick Green's going to get back by him. I couldn't tell you what the heck happened to him because he was blinked out the whole time, but he's down on the bottom now. Patrick Green has the run to the outside. Potter's trying to mow the grass on the inside of turn 4, and it's not working out for him because Patrick Green is back up to 4th.
Sorry, I just had no idea where you were.
Yeah, it looks like Potter just pushed the car a little bit too much, stepped on the gas a little bit too much coming out of 4. The back end fishtailed around, tapped the wall.
Fine for now. It was just all over the place.
Damage doesn't look too bad, so I'd expect to see him still fighting here instead of dropping back.
Yeah, Brad.
Got a nice little gaggle here. That's with the 21 of Kendall Kerr, Scott Wheeler Jr., the 33 of Tyler Snyder. It's a train behind Ryan Potter, actually, believe it or not. Now the 10 of Robert Pullins is the next driver who's pulling Ryan Potter in. I think Potter might have destroyed those tires. He slid that thing about 14 times, and even though we've only done, 20 laps since the last caution, I think those tires are going to be very, very warm under Ryan Potter's car.
Yeah, absolutely. A big part of a race like this is knowing, and he's had another moment going out of 4. And we got a crash going down the front straight.
Robert Pullins loses it with Patrick Green. He had that move made with the mistake from the 47, but the 10 of Robert Pullins loses it as well. It adds insult to injury for Ryan Potter. Both of them into the inside wall. The first cars with any real damage today, I'd say, and the caution is out for the second time here on lap 47. It's going to make Scott Zellner very happy as the gap to Kunman's been erased. As Mr. Kunman catches the iRacing pace car on the back straight. We're about 50% of the way through this race. We'll throw to a break in a minute because right now we got to see what happened to the 10. Driving backwards, obviously. That's what's happening here, and here we go. The 10,
we
47.
saw the same thing with him and Potter just coming out of 4, a little bit too much gas, not respecting the limits of the car, and just losing that rear end. And instead of putting him in the outside wall like Potter a few laps ago, it put him straight to the inside, right into Potter.
I would like Jake to take a screenshot of them crossing the line, and we're going to pretend it was the finish if the finish is kind of poopy, because that would have been an epic finish, both sideways sliding across the line. It was a finish. It was a finish for 94th, but, whatever. Exiting the pits. Oh, my goodness. You can't see it, but Alan Kunman's had a terrible pit stop. Patrick Green's your new leader. Scott Zellner's second. It's all kicking off now.
Actually, our new leader stayed out. We have Andrew Siegel in the number 5, did not pit.
Andrew Siegel, the driver who's probably hit the wall more than anybody tonight, will lead us to green in the green car. He's not pitting. He's not bringing that thing down pit road. And we'll see what happens in a couple of minutes. So we're going to throw to a break here. We'll stay side by side. See you in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. A pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history. From the past to the present. From Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
And welcome back. And welcome back to USA International Speedway, where we've just gone green after caution number 2. Andrew Siegel taking the field to green, with Patrick Green very promptly passing him on the outside.
Oh, but he did that, and then he lost it instantly. Yay! And there goes everybody. We've got Rex on the front straight, and there's the caution. Kendall Kerr. Oh, it's a parking lot. It's a parking garage. The 10, Dalton Beer.
I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
Put you there.
Yeah, let's take a look at what happened there. It looks like Kendall Kerr was at the center of the action. Yeah, just as we saw a few moments ago with caution number 2, just cooking it on the exit of 4 a little bit too much.
There we go. Kendall Kerr on the outside. Looks like he's having a fine time. There was no help from Caleb Morrissey, and yep, there he goes. Same thing that the 10 did.
Yeah, this is one of those... Oh, that carnage. That is going to ruin the night for a lot of these drivers here. Nothing. That's the most frustrating thing when you're a racing driver. It's when you want to get back to racing, you go green, 1 or 2 laps later, someone in front of you gets turned, slides around, sends it back to yellow. It just ruins your rhythm, and it's just really frustrating for some of these guys in the midfield who are hoping for green flag runs to get back to the front.
And there's Robert Pullen, speak of the devil, the number 10. Really the worst off from that. He's disconnected from the session. I can't blame him. He got a couple big hits, no fault of his own there. I mean, the first caution was, but this one wasn't. And back to the front, Patrick Green did lead at the line there. I think either way, Andrew Siegel did bring it down pit road. He thought that strategy was not really worth it. He still had that track position, but he did bring it down pit road, and he's lost those 16 spots. But now he's got 6-lap younger tires, so, you know, you win something out of everything.
Yeah, he may gain a few positions back here as some of these damaged cars might be going into fixed damage. I mean, Kendall Kerr's bumper is falling off. I have to imagine he's going to be in soon, unless he wants to pull a Chase Elliott like this last weekend, driving around Charlotte Roval without a bumper.
I mean, he's not going to get a meatball flag for it, just like Chase Elliott. So might as well stay out there, and you know, whatever happens. Patrick Green, a new face up front. Alan Kunman back to where he started on the outside of the front row, and poor old Scott Zellner. He had a great exit from the pits. He passed Alan Kunman, and he lost it as quickly as he got it. He's back to third. He's going to have to find another way past Mr. Kunman if that comes to him. And just a Ryan Potter update, the 13. He's back in, not the 13, the 47. He's in 13th, so that's how far he's fallen back. Hopefully he's taken this caution to regroup a little bit, cool down, and we'll see if he can march his way back through the front again.
Yeah, it looks like he's still got some cosmetic damage on that right rear. We'll see if that affects the speed of the car much. Sometimes you get a little bit lucky on shorter ovals like this, and a little bit of cosmetic damage doesn't hurt your pace too much, but I reckon it's going to be pretty hard for him to fight back for a win with only 40 laps to go, but that would be a magnificent race if he can work his way back up front.
The number 87, Patty G, takes the Patrick Green flag. We're going to go back racing again. Hopefully we go green longer than we did last time. Green really slow on the exit of turn 1. And Kunman on the attack here. He's got the short run speed. We know he does because he took the lead on the initial start. Is James McKee down to the inside of Scott Zellner. The 4 back to 4th and down to the bottom. Alan Kunman shows his nose, but he's not going to be close enough to send it into turn 1.
And it looks like Zellner had a little bit of a moment out of 4 there, almost identical to the other incidents we've seen. Drivers just not respecting the car's limits on that corner. It is a very difficult corner here. The exits of the corners on short ovals can often test your throttle control, and it looks like some drivers are having a lot of issues with that. So Zellner dropping back to 4th for now.
Kunman still all over the back of the 87, 41 laps to go. He's going to be getting a little more aggressive, I think, now, as it is the feature. It's not a heat race anymore. The win actually matters, and he doesn't have a win this season. It's bizarre because it seems like he's been up front all season, and as usual, he's back up front here at USA.
Yeah, that was quite a move to get past Green in turn 1 there. Quite a lunge. Gotta say, it didn't look like Green defended that too hard, so Green may be looking to just do some management here and be willing to just take an easier top 3 or top 5 instead of over pushing the car and having perhaps disaster strike.
Patrick Green currently 2nd in the championship standing, 6 points behind Scott Wheeler Jr. and he's 5 spots ahead of Scott Wheeler Jr., so a little bit more misfortune from Wheeler, and Patrick Green could come out of this thing as the championship leader, but right now it seems like Green's the one who's going to continue falling through the field as the 9 of James McKee gets down to the bottom. He's not going to clear him just yet, but as we've seen, the bottom seems to be really dominant here. The top hasn't really worked for anybody not named Alan Kunman.
Yeah, exactly. The top's not going to be too bad for just managing your pace, but I mean, it's definitely hard to defend from up there on such a narrow track like this. You just don't have the space on the corner exits.
You're at some towns in the lead.
You can like a small version of Noah's Ark here, 2x2 in 3 and 4. Scott Wheeler Jr., he's been on the bumper of the 33, it seems, for these last entirety of the race. Still hasn't been able to get by. Tyler Snyder's going to be the next car that dispatches of the 87 of Patrick Green, and the Sharpie, Rubbermaid, whatever Kurt Busch mobile thing is going to try and be the next one to get by here.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's forming up right in a line on that inside there to take advantage of Green dropping back here. I have to wonder what's happening to Green there, as he should have just as new tires as everyone else.
I mean, he did start 5th, and as Caleb Morrissey is going to get by here, it's going to be 7th, so he's going to lose a couple spots, but I think this might just be Patrick Green returning to his final form, his natural form, back to where he qualified. But he continues to fall back because he is stuck there on the high line. The 73 of Justin Malarkey. Odd to not see him up front tonight, but he's going to get by the 87. And Brad Kress as well is going to get by the 87 too down here.
Yeah, on these short tracks, that can be a really frustrating position that Green's sitting in, where you just feel like there's just a train of cars coming up your inside. I mean, he's got to try to get the car down on the inside here, and he just can't. There's just not been any space. It looks like he's pulling it down now, but a little bit too little too late, as he's now back in 10th place, I believe.
Yeah, he finds a window behind Dylan Poteet. 10th place is better than 18th, but he's going to be wishing that he was still up front there with Alan Kunman. Unfortunately, he's going to have to march his way through the field, just like Ryan Potter's been trying to do, but he's still 12th. He started 13th. I was cheering him on. I was saying he might be regrouped. He might be making his way back up through the field, but I think that damage might still be hurting him because he's made up a whopping 1 spot since we restarted.
Yeah, I think between the damage on the car itself and the damage your mind takes after having been involved like a caution like that, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to work his way back up front. Maybe something like a later caution might remotivate him, but for now, I don't know if I see him getting much further up the field, unless he surprises us all and he's saving tires right now or something.
Kind of looks like the start of the race here, as everybody is now stratified back to going 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, and I won't do it 18 times, but they are doing that. Scott Wheeler Jr. looks to be our entertainment for the moment. They're going side by side for 13th, I guess, if we want to see that, if that's going to be our amusement here. Trevor Hook and it's not destroyed. Dylan Wedgwood's car looks very damaged, but I think that's just how he painted it. There shouldn't be any damage on that thing, and as I say, Trevor Hook easily gets by the 17 of Dylan Wedgwood. Wow, Scott Wheeler Jr., do something for us here.
There's a little bit of damage on Wedgwood's car now as he brushes the outside wall.
97, I think he's getting impatient again. He's shown remarkable patience over the course of tonight. He hasn't put the bumper to anybody. He hasn't turned anybody, but he's been stuck behind so many drivers tonight, and he's shown incredible restraint to not just shove him out of the way. I'm sure he's getting frustrated with Tyler Snyder parking the bus down there on the apex, but there's not much he can do.
I think he realizes he's got the time, though. I mean, he's only about 3.5 seconds back from the lead. It's not an insignificant gap on a short oval like this, but he's got 27 laps left, and if he's got pace, he can easily make up that 3 seconds. So I think we might start seeing him make some moves here if he wants that win.
Lapped traffic is being a little bit of a friend to Alan Kunman right now. He got by Andrew Siegel nice and easily. Bad news for all you Siegel heads out there. He's a lap down now, but who cares about him? Scott Wheeler Jr. finally gets down to the bottom. Can he get by Tyler Snyder here? coming to the line, about a bumper clear of not being clear, but now he's a bumper clear of being clear. I'll say clear a couple more times because Scott Wheeler is clear in fourth.
Yeah, easy move right there. So, like I said a couple laps ago, it looks like he's going to be going on a charge now. It looks like he's probably going to catch up to Zellner in about 6 laps time if this pace continues, 6-7 laps or so. And in front of Zellner, McKee's only, 3/10 up the road. So Wheeler definitely still on for a podium finish tonight. Possibly even second, possibly first.
And McKee had a buddy up there. As I mentioned him 5 seconds ago, now he's finally relevant. Andrew Siegel really kind of held up James McKee there. Did not get out of the way as much as he did for Kunman. So McKee's lost a bit of ground. Scott Zellner wasn't able to pounce and get by, so he's still third. But McKee a little bit held up there. Scott Zellner might have got a little bit of hope. But next up, Siegel's going to be the moving chicane for Wheeler and Snyder. We'll see if Tyler Snyder can use Siegel to his advantage. Maybe sneak down the inside of Wheeler or sneak to the outside of Wheeler as he's trying to get by. He's the only lap car on track right now, so he's the only lap car any of these guys have to worry about.
Yeah, when you're in a position like Snyder, you're definitely it's going through your mind on how best to use that lapped car as a pick to try to get your pass. Because they're going to be taking up track space, so it's advantageous to try to set it up so that you can get by them more quickly than the person you're racing. But as I say this, it looks like Scott Wheeler Jr. by Siegel without any issue, and it looks like Snyder by Siegel without any issue. So yes. They are back to our regularly scheduled racing.
Snyder got a little bit held up on exit, but that's just the reality of lapped cars. Couldn't really do anything about that. Siegel couldn't. He exists. He can't phase out of existence. As I say that, he blinks and does phase out of existence, but he's still there. Next up, Justin Malarkey in the 73, the two green cars. These two were legitimately racing up front at Daytona last week, so they're meeting again on track. A little bit more of an unfortunate situation for Mr. Siegel. We'll see if he lets by Malarkey here into 3. No, he's going to wait it out. He's going to say, Justin Malarkey, you can pass me once you get your bumper under me.
Yeah, it should be noted that as a lapped car here, you usually aren't under any obligation to specifically slow down, though you probably shouldn't make it your job to make the race more difficult for the lead lap cars.
Yeah, see, he's doing a fine job, I'd say. Siegel's doing a fine job, but we got to find entertainment in any place we can. So if we can get a heel, if Andrew Siegel's going to be the heel of tonight, he might as well be, as the rest of the field just dispatches of him. He's going to go a lap down to the whole gang. Next up, the 27 of Adam Bossie's going to get him. Patrick Green, I haven't looked at him in a while. He's down 2 more spots. He's down to 12th.
Yeah, really not managing his pace here in this last leg of the race. Just unfortunate, starting at the front after that last caution and all the way back down in 12th now off of nothing but merit. Just wasn't able to manage his pace effectively.
I'm doing my search through the field here. Anybody? Oh, Andrew Siegel turns Trevor Hook right as I look at him. As Hook tried to lap Siegel, he turned Hook into the wall. No caution, but Siegel is destroyed in the inside wall. Trevor Hook took a hook to the outside wall, and they're both damaged. We're going to rewind here. Let's take a look. I mean, I'd put that on Trevor Hook. He kind of drove over the nose of the 5.
Yeah, he absolutely did. Even though the number 5's a lapped car, you still have to respect their space. They're still driving the track. They're still occupying space. The 5 didn't really come down. He kept that outside line and just unfortunately had that car think the 84 thought he was clear, and he was definitely not clear.
Hook now down to 14th, falling down the order. But the race goes on. No caution for that, which is exactly what Alan Kunman wants, as James McKee is now your second-place runner ahead of Scott Zellner. 4th place, Scott Wheeler Jr., kind of in a league of his own right now. He's got quite large gaps to Cars in front and behind. Snyder, Morrissey, Brad Kress has a big drift through 1 and 2. He's going to let Justin Malarkey back by now for 7th. But that was scary for Brad Kress.
Yeah, when you're coming in the corner like that, and the rear end of the car steps out on you due to the wear of the tires, it's definitely a little bit of a scary moment as a driver. And you can't help at that point but kind of go into panic mode on how you're going to get the last 12 laps out of these tires without doing that again. Yeah, definitely a difficult situation to work yourself out of when you start sliding around like that.
I think the tires are starting to go off quite a bit because I just saw Tyler Snyder send it into turns 1 and 2 about 14 lanes too high and let Caleb Morrissey drive straight by. So that's another spot for Morrissey, up to 5th. A great drive for Morrissey. But yeah, that's about it on track right now. We'll see if Morrissey can make his march up through the field. Next up is Scott Wheeler Jr., who's not really doing anything. And I'm trying to look for a lap comparison here. The last lap for James McKee was a 22.477. Last lap for Kunman, 22.467. So those two aren't really catching each other.
No, Kunman's held this gap between 1.5 seconds and 2 seconds almost since we went green back on lap 58 or so. Definitely pulled out that lead, and he wants this to stay green until the end here. Caution would be detrimental for his race and give McKee and Zellner a really good chance to get this back.
This race has flown by. Only 8 laps to go, which is remarkable.
Yeah, lots of green flag running tonight. Makes for a good management race. As exciting as side-to-side racing can be, 2 wides, 3 wides. On short tracks like this, it can be a little bit dangerous, and cautions breed cautions. So sometimes it's nice to get, a green flag race going and basically see who can manage their car, manage their pace, and come out on top that way.
Ryan Potter still making moves in the dying minutes of the race, getting by Dylan Poteet for 9th. So that's good stuff for Ryan Potter. He's got himself back up into the single digits at least, so he won't be finishing outside of the top 10. He won't be winning this race unless an act of God happens, but he'll be happy to be in the single digits here. Scott Wheeler Jr., he'll be happy to hold the championship lead here. I say this, we still do have 5 laps to go. Anything can happen, but looks like some things are a little bit of a foregone conclusion. Scott Zellner still working on James McKee up front here. So this may be the only thing that isn't a foregone conclusion. They're going to be getting a visit from the Andrew Siegel ferry a little bit in the near future because he's getting lapped for the second time. He's getting lapped for the second time.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you have to go through a lapped car here with only a handful of laps left. We'll see if Siegel makes this easy or hard for them. I'd imagine he's just going to stick to the outside, try not to interfere that much. But it definitely throws a wrench into the plans of Zellner here, who is now having to worry, well, am I going to be screwed over by this back marker more than McKee, less than McKee? It's just a lot more thinking you have to do as a driver in that seat.
Well, Scott Zellner really knows that there's going to be 2 laps to go as we cross the line here. We're almost to the finish. He's running out of opportunities here. Zellner's getting aggressive here. There's only approximately 3 more opportunities he has to get to the bottom of McKee. He's going to try and sneak it down there in 3 and 4. It's not going to happen. They're both going to get rid of Andrew Siegel much easier than the last time. White flag in the air for Alan Kunman. I'm sorry, but nobody cares. He's going to win this race. This is the battle we care about right now. I'll call Alan Kunman after this battle's over. But unfortunately, Scott Zellner is proving me wrong here. I was looking forward to a grandstand finish. He's going to send it in as deep as humanly possible into turns 3 and 4. Doesn't matter. He's not going to win. Alan Kunman, dominant up front. Alan Kunman wins at USA. Second place goes to James McKee after holding off Scott Zellner there. Scott Wheeler Jr. up to 4th place from 7th on the grid. And Caleb Morrissey, everybody's favorite driver, the number 6, in the top 5 from 9th on the grid. Lots of moving up the grid and lots of falling down the grid as well for some others.
Yeah, wasn't Morrissey involved in one of the early race altercations? It's a pretty good drive from him to get back up into that top 5.
Nice one, Alan.
Seen some action across the line here. The 33 of Tyler Snyder helping Alan Kunman out with his donuts here. Now, I believe we'll be able to talk to some of the drivers. We'll be able to talk to the top three here. But for now, we're going to throw it to a break. And whenever the drivers decide to show up, we'll talk to them. So don't go anywhere. We're not. Well, that was a unique broadcasting experience and a unique racing experience. ARCA cars at USA, a bit of a strange combo. We do see it sometimes, but it's a track that doesn't exist. It's a car that hasn't existed for like 10 years, and it put on a pretty good show. Alan Kunman dominated it up front once he got the lead. He had a little bit of a bobble on a pit cycle, but who cares about a pit cycle when you got that much speed? Alan Kunman finally gets his first win of the season over James McKee. Third place was Scott Zellner, and Scott Wheeler Jr. hung on to the championship lead in fourth. Caleb Morrissey was fifth. Tyler Snyder, Justin Malarkey, Brad Kress, Ryan Potter, your pole sitter, fell down to ninth, and Dylan Poteet rounded out the top 10. And then 11th was Patrick Green, Adam Bossy, Dylan Wedgwood, basically the used car lot down here. Trevor Hook got hooked a lap car into the wall. Cody Robinson had some misfortune. Kendall Kerr hit the wall. Dalton Beer hit a car. Andrew Siegel got lapped twice. And Robert Pullins got destroyed by spinning in front of Ryan Potter. So, yeah. But it looks like we do actually have the drivers in the interview room. So they're finally here after we got through the results. Let's talk to Alan Kunman first. Your race winner in the number 8. Alan Kunman, it took you 5 races. It seems like you've been up front all season, but you finally got it done tonight.
Yeah, finally, man. Five races this season, but it's been a long winless streak, man. This is my first win in 3 seasons, so I'm glad to finally get that monkey off my shoulder.
Well, it looked like you were pretty dominant tonight. You did only finish second in Heat 1. We must say you weren't able to get by Ryan Potter, but once we got into this feature race, it seemed like you hit the throttle even harder. You were on another level. What changed between the Heat and the feature, you think?
Well, the Heat race, I didn't want to push it too hard. There were a couple times that I could have, pushed Potter up out of the way and got by, but I didn't want any bad blood, moving over to the feature. But as far as, just the car and the setup, I think just once the sun started going down and the track temperature started cooling down, I think that helped me out a lot.
The only real bobble I saw from you was that pit cycle on whatever that was, the second or third caution. You lost a couple spots on pit road. What happened there?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I took 4 tires and filled it up, and I don't know if Scott and I believe it was Patrick, I don't know if they took 2 tires on that pit stop or what, but yeah, it baffled me.
Well, whatever happened, you got to the front. You finally got that first win of the season. I got to see how many rounds we have left in the season. I haven't calculated, but how are you feeling championship-wise?
I got a good shot. I've been running pretty consistent all season. Kind of let one get away from me last week at Talladega, but that was of my own doing. But I just think, as long as I keep running consistent like I have been for this whole season, I think I'll, be in the running when it comes down to the end.
And I've heard that there's 6 rounds left in the season, so 6 more rounds for you to fight for that championship. Alan Kunman, your winner tonight, and we got another driver here with us. We got James McKee, 2 seconds back, second place. Sarah is with James.
James, from 10th place on the grid in the first heat race to 6th place on the grid in the feature up to 2nd place at the end. That's got to feel good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty good, and I'm just glad we didn't get caught up in a wreck, because usually short tracks breed those kind of things. So just glad we were able to make it up to the front pretty cleanly.
Yeah, it looks like you and Scott Zellner were bumper to bumper for a large portion of that race. I mean, what was going through your mind when trying to defend against him for, what was it, nearly 40 laps at the end of the race?
I honestly, I didn't pay attention to him for probably the first 25, 30 laps, because I was trying to keep up with Alan. It looked like Alan and I were pretty stable with each other. He just had too big of a lead, and then eventually he just pulled away even more. And then I focused on Scott, and I thought within the last 10 laps, Scott was going to be able to get me or give me a bumper or something. But we were able to hold him off and get P2.
Yeah, it was definitely a close battle between you two, but it looks like you were able to effectively manage those tires. I gotta imagine those were probably falling away from you at the end of the race, with the last green flag run being about 43 laps or so.
Yeah, towards the end of the run, you could definitely feel it. I was trying to stay half throttle down the straightaways and ease into the turns at the beginning of the run, and I thought that would have been able to be enough to catch Alan, in the last 10, 15 or so laps, and it still didn't work. So I got to work on my tire management skills, but I'm just happy we were able to hold off Scott at least and still get a good finish out of it.
Well, it looks like you've definitely got the right mindset to maybe grab some wins in the future, able to go from 10th in that heat race all the way up to 2nd. I think you'll definitely see your time in victory lane soon enough.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to get one at Kansas a couple weeks ago. I'd like to get a couple more just for kicks and giggles.
Oh yeah, more wins is always good to have.
That's right. But definitely want to give a shout out to Dylan Body and Scott Puckett with SP Designs and Body Shop for giving me this cool looking scheme. And if you all want to buy some cool shirts, contact Scott and go to SP Designs and get some pretty cool shirts. Dale Jr. wears a few of them, and a lot of those guys at JR Motorsports are big into Scott shirts. So give them a look.
Well, that's a good endorsement right there, if I've ever heard one. Congratulations, James, on the P2, and thank you for the interview.
Yep. Thank you all for the broadcast.
Always a good name drop when you can get Dale Jr. in there. We'll see if Scott Zellner can follow that one up. Scott, third place finisher from third place on the grid. Seemed like you might have had a shot there in some parts of the race. You were second behind Kunman. Do you think you had anything for him if you could get to the back of him?
Nah, Alan's just too good at these short tracks, and I was just a tick off tonight. But you know what? I'll take a third place finish, because coming in here, I wasn't expecting to finish inside the top 10.
Well, it is a unique track. Sometimes we see this car race at USA in like the rookie or in like the D class series, but it's not a track that exists anymore. It's not a track we see these cars at often. How did you prepare for tonight if you did it all with that random draw? What skills did you take in tonight for this track?
I took in that about 27 minutes of practice beforehand. But no, it's kind of like a Martinsville-esque track, if you were to stretch it out a little bit. So kind of just use similar brake bias to Martinsville, and because kind of just trying to drive it in the corner straight and drive it straight off.
And how does that random draw really impact your perspective here? Because this is the first time we've actually talked to the drivers all season. I do want to know, when the track's getting drawn half an hour before the race, is that 27 minutes of practice really the only preparation you get, or do you have some tracks that you're stronger on that you look forward that might come up?
Don't want to give too many of my secrets away, but there are a couple of tracks out here where I'm really hoping that wheel lands on. But to be honest with you, I really like the randomness of the draw, because I don't have time throughout the week to put in hours and practice. So, what you see is what you get. I hop in the sim seat, half hour before the race, and that's all I got.
Well, clearly you had quite a bit tonight, because third place finish pretty darn good. You have anyone you want to thank for this podium finish tonight?
Just want to thank all my teammates at FHR. We have Scott Wheeler, Caleb Morrissey, and Toby Wedgwood, who couldn't make it tonight. But really fun group of guys to race with. Congrats to Alan, class of the field on a short track. Not a huge surprise there. And thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast. I saw that you had a little bit of difficulty tonight, so hope you persevered through it.
A little. But yeah, I think we did a good job here tonight. I think we had a good race. The drivers of the Highline Racing League, highpoint.com Premier Series, certainly helped us out this evening. So let's finish this out. We finished our interview with Zellner, going down the list here. Upcoming, let's do the upcoming races. We got Core, the Fall Brawl at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Thursday, October 14th, a couple of days from now. Come back for that. The highpoint.com Premier Series, this right here, coming back next week. We'll be back at another random track from the Wheel of Madness. Who knows what it's going to be? I'm sure it'll be something weird, but it'll be entertaining, hopefully. And then, of course, the Four Corners Racing League, the season finale at Phoenix Raceway. We're hoping it's better than Talladega. I think it might just be Monday, November 8th at 8:30 p.m. All on STN. Be here, or you're definitely going to be missing out. But anyway, I'm seeing that the Four Corners Racing League is at Kansas, not Phoenix. So the graphic was wrong. I'm glad they're going to Kansas. Phoenix is kind of overused. Don't tell anyone I said that. Anyway, to the people who watched tonight, thank you for sticking in here. We had some technical difficulties. We had some last-minute commentary changes. We had some stumbles, but we did a good job, I think, and the drivers did a good job too. So we'll see you next week for this. We'll see you later on STN for whatever the heck was in that schedule. And from me, from Sarah, from Jacob Hitz, good night.